Hey there, Lana here. I want to talk about something that's been coming up a lot lately, not just in my sessions, but in the collective field, and that is why isn't traditional healing always enough? Why do people who are so self aware still feel stuck? And what actually creates real lasting transformation? This is something I've sat with personally and professionally for years. I've been a therapist for a long time, and in those early years, I was all in, holding space, asking the right questions, helping people understand their patterns, name their trauma, connect the dots from childhood. And that work mattered. It still does. But something started to feel incomplete because what I kept seeing over and over was that awareness didn't always equal change. People would have these profound realizations in session. They'd understand where their anxiety came from, why they were drawn to certain relationship dynamics, how their early experiences shaped their beliefs, and yet nothing shifted, or at least not in the way they hoped. The patterns stayed alive in their body. The nervous system didn't get the memo. The story changed, but the frequency didn't. That's when I started listening differently. I found myself noticing what was happening beneath the words, the subtle energy in the room, the way someone's tone would shift when they spoke from truth versus protection. I started paying more attention to my own body, my nervous system, my emotional resonance as a guide. And slowly I realized something. People aren't just carrying wounds, they're carrying frequencies, encoded experiences, emotional imprints, and healing can't happen at the level of mind alone because the wound doesn't live there. That's when my work started evolving, naturally, almost inevitably, into what I now call quantum healing or soul tuning. And I want to explain what that means, not as a pitch, but as a framework, because I know a lot of people are sensing that there's more to healing than talk therapy. There's something deeper, more whole, more integrative, but it hasn't quite been named in a way that lands. So here's the simplest way I can describe it. We live in a quantum field. Everything, your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, your nervous system, even your beliefs, is encoded in frequency. Your body, your energy, and your subconscious are not separate. They're all part of the same operating system. When something happens to you, especially something painful, it doesn't just leave a mental impression. It leaves an energetic imprint. It becomes a vibration in your system. And unless that vibration gets acknowledged, felt, and repatterned, it just keeps running. You might change the story. You might override it with affirmations or coping skills. You might talk about it for years. But unless you shift the frequency, it stays, and your nervous system keeps responding to the world as if that imprint is still true. That's why people stay stuck in loops they cognitively understand. It's not because they're doing something wrong, it's because the healing hasn't reached the level where the wound actually lives. Quantum healing is the process of working directly in that field. It's not just energy work, although it includes energy. It's not just somatic work, although it deeply honors the body. It's not just mindset work, although we often rewire belief systems in the process. It's all of it together. Mind, body, energy, soul, tuned into coherence. When I work with someone in this way, I'm using my own system, my body, my nervous system, my subtle awareness as a kind of receiver. I'm attuning to their field, not to fix them, but to mirror what's alive and help guide it into alignment. Sometimes it shows up as a physical sensation in my body. Sometimes it's an emotional pulse. And sometimes it's an intuitive knowing that lands before either of us can explain it. And from that space, we shift things, not just mentally, not just energetically, but at the root. We rewire what safety feels like. We release the old charge. We bring the nervous system into resonance with a new signal, one that matches who they actually are underneath the imprint. This is why I call it soul tuning, because we're not just clearing blocks, we're remembering your original song. And here's something important I want to name because I get asked this a lot. What if the pattern comes back? What if I shift something in session and then a week later I feel triggered again? Here's the truth. Healing doesn't mean you never feel discomfort. It doesn't mean the world stops being chaotic or people stop disappointing you. But once you shift a frequency at the quantum level, it's encoded. It becomes part of your field. And even if the old pattern appears again, it won't hook you the same way. You'll have more choice, more breath, more space between stimulus and response. And over time, the old pattern stops running, not because you suppressed it, but because it's no longer resonant. This work isn't a quick fix. It's not about bypassing the story or jumping over the pain. It's about meeting it where it lives, feeling it in the body, naming it in the field, and guiding the system back into truth. It's deep work, it's gentle work, and it's work I came to naturally after years of sitting in the room with people who were doing everything right and still feeling stuck. I've walked both paths, the clinical and the intuitive, and what I've found is that healing happens most powerfully when those two worlds meet. So, if you're someone who's done the therapy, read the books, processed the trauma, and you still feel like something's lingering, like you're still not free, it's not that you've missed something. It's that the next layer is ready, and it lives beyond the words. You don't need to try harder. You just need a new signal, a new attunement, a safe place for your system to remember what wholeness actually feels like. That's what this work is. It's not about adding more tools. It's about tuning the instrument so that your soul can lead again. If something in you feels seen or softened or sparked as you listen to this, that's your field responding. That's the part of you that knows what I'm talking about. And that knowing is enough. Whether or not you ever work with me, whether or not you ever name it as quantum healing, that's the medicine, that's the memory, and it's already alive in you. And if you are interested in working with me, you can follow the link in my page description or email me at healyourlifecoaching111@gmail.com and we can start a conversation. I look forward to hearing from you, and I send you so much love.